Admiral Rogers, in response to the question from Senator Manchin, you, it appears, felt free to discuss the conversations you've had with the President in January about Russian active measures. Can you share with this committee how you're determining which conversations you can share and which you don't feel free to share?
Ma'am, the fact that we briefed the President previously, both went up to New York, and previously is a matter of public record.
So if it's a matter of public record, then you feel free to discuss those conversations?
If it's not classified, you can keep trying to trip me up. Senator, if you could I get to respond, please, ma'am?
No, sir. No.
Okay.
Are you saying that if it is classified, you will not discuss it? And then my follow-up question obviously would be, do you believe that discussion of Russian active measures is not the subject of classified information?
I stand by my previous comments.
Thank you.
Admiral Rogers, I think you testified, Admiral Rogers, that you did discuss today's testimony with someone in the White House?
I said I asked, did the White House intend to evoke executive privileges associated with any interactions between myself and the President of the United States?
And what was the answer to that question?
To be honest, I didn't get a definitive answer, and both myself and the DNI are still talking to the White House.
So then I'll ask both of you the same question. Why are you not answering these questions? Is there an invocation by the President of the United States of executive privilege? Is there or not?
Not that I'm aware of.
Then why are you not answering our questions?
Because I feel it is inappropriate, Senator.
What you feel isn't relevant, Admiral. What you feel isn't the answer. The answer is, why are you not answering the questions? Is it an invocation of executive privilege? If there is, then let's know about it. If there isn't, answer the questions.
I stand by the comments I've made. I'm not interested in repeating myself, sir. And I don't mean that in a contentious way.
Well, I do mean it in a contentious way. I don't understand why you're not answering our questions. You can't. When you were confirmed before the Armed Services Committee, you took an oath. Do you solemnly swear to give the committee the truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. You answered yes to that.
And I've also answered that those conversations were classified, and it is not appropriate in an open forum to discuss those classified conversations.
What is classified about a conversation involving whether or not you should intervene in the FBI investigation?
Sir, I stand by my previous comments.
Mr. Coates, same series of questions. What's the basis for your refusal to answer these questions today?
The basis is what I've previously explained. I do not believe it is appropriate for me to.
What's the basis? I'm not satisfied with I do not believe it is appropriate or I do not feel I should answer. I want to understand a legal basis. You swore that oath to tell us the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and today you are refusing to do so. What is the legal basis for your refusal to testify to this committee?
I'm not sure I have a legal basis, but I'm more than willing to sit before this committee and during its investigative process in a closed session and answer your questions.
Well, we're going to be having a closed session in a few hours. Do you commit to me that you're going to answer these questions in a direct and unencumbered way?
Well, that closed session you're going to have in a few hours involves the staff going over the technicalities of a number of these issues and doesn't involve us. But
well, is it your testimony that when you are before this committee in a closed session, you will answer these questions directly and unequivocally and without hesitation?
I plan to do that, but I do have to work through the legal counsel at the White House relative to whether or not they're going to exercise executive.
Admiral Rogers, will you answer these questions in a closed session?
I likewise respond as the DNI has. I certainly hope that is what happens. I believe that's the appropriate thing. But I do have to acknowledge, because of the sensitive nature and the executive privilege aspects of this, I need to be talking to the General Counsel in the White House. I hope we come to a position where we can have this dialogue. I welcome that dialogue, sir.
I hope so, too. And I would just add, in conclusion, that both of you testified you had never been pressured under 3 years. I would argue that you have waived executive privilege by, in effect, testifying as to something that didn't happen. And I believe you opened the door to these questions. And it is my belief that you are inappropriately refusing to answer these questions today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Before I turn to Senator Lankford, let me say that the Vice Chairman and I have had conversations with Acting Attorney General Rosenstein when a special counsel was named. And as I had shared with the members of this committee prior to that, that as we carried out an investigation, there would come a point in time, either with an investigation that was currently ongoing at the FBI, or if there was a special counsel with the special counsel, where there would be avenues that this committee could not explore. And it was my hope that already the Vice Chair and I would have had that conversation with the special counsel. We have not. We've made the request. We intend to have it. And I think that both of us anticipated that we would reach this point at some point in the investigation. We are there where there are some things that will fall into the special counsel and or an active investigation, Vice Chairman.
Let me just say, though, that at this point, we've not had that conversation with Mr. Mueller. We've not been waived off on any subject. And the way I'm hearing all of you gentlemen is that Mr. Mueller has not waived you off from answering any of these questions. Is that correct?
I've had no conversations with Mr. Mueller. I've been out of the country for the last 9 days, and I haven't had an opportunity.
Have any of you
to talk to him.
had, because if you've not had questions waived off with Mr. Mueller, I think, frankly, and I understand your commitment to the administration, but that Senator King, Senator Heinrich, and my questions deserve answers, and at some point the American public deserves full answers.
I'm going to ask Mr. Rosenstein to address that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm sensitive to your desire to keep our answers brief, and my full answer actually would be very lengthy. But my brief answer, from my perspective with the Department of Justice, and I've been there for 27 years, and Mr. McCabe also is a career employee of the Department of Justice, our default position is that when there's a Justice Department investigation, we do not discuss it publicly. That's our default rule, so nobody needs to.
Is that the rule for the President of the United States as well?
I don't know what.
Because that is what the questions are being asked about. Reports that nobody has laid the rest here, that the President of the United States has intervened directly in an ongoing FBI investigation, and we've gotten no answer from any of you. And frankly, we've at least heard from Director Coates and Admiral Rogers that they've not been asked to recuse an answer because of Director Mueller. And I don't understand why we can't get that answer.
So I'm not answering for Director Rogers or Director Coates. I'm answering for Director McCabe and myself with regard to the Department of Justice.
You, it appears, felt free to discuss the conversations you've had with the President in January about Russian active measures. Can you share with this committee how you're determining which conversations you can share and which you don't feel free to share?
Ma'am, the fact that we briefed the President previously, both went up to New York, and previously is a matter of public record.
So if it's a matter of public record, then you feel free to discuss those conversations?
If it's not classified, you can keep trying to trip me up. Senator, if you could I get to respond, please, ma'am?
No, sir. No.
Okay.
Are you saying that if it is classified, you will not discuss it? And then my follow-up question obviously would be, do you believe that discussion of Russian active measures is not the subject of classified information?
I stand by my previous comments.
Thank you.
Do you agree with the scientific community that climate change is a global crisis that must be addressed in an aggressive way?
I believe that climate change is a global issue that must be addressed globally. No one country can.
That wasn't my question, sir. I don't have a lot of time, and I'd appreciate if you're answering the questions. Scientific community has said that climate change is one of the great crises facing our planet. And if there is not unprecedented action to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to sustainable energy and energy efficiency, there will be irreparable damage in the United States and in virtually every country on Earth. Do you agree with the scientific community?
I would not call it the greatest crisis, no, sir. I consider it a huge issue that has to be addressed globally.
Well, what you are, I found it interesting, Mr. Wheeler. You are the nominee to be head of the Environmental Protection Agency. You just, in your opening statement, did not mention the word climate change. Now, how does it happen that the nominee to be head of the Environmental Protection Agency does not mention the words climate change at a time when the scientific community thinks that climate change is the great environmental crisis facing this planet? Should the American people have confidence that you're going to help us deal with this global crisis?
Yes, they should have confidence because we are moving forward to reduce CO2. Our ACE proposal will reduce CO2 approximately the same levels that the Clean Power Plan would have if it had been implemented. And we're reducing CO2 from our CAFE standards, and we're also addressing greenhouse gases through our methane program as well.